Hey everybody, yes, I've gone live. The reason I've gone live right now is because some news has just come through in the Fed court. We've had a politician win a defamation case. And so we want to quickly have a look at that, and we want to have a look at what the ramifications are. Is this the start of the floodgates opening now for politicians? So let's take a look at the headline. So it says Dutton. Peter Dutton wins federal court defamation case over our apologist tweet. Okay, so Defence Minister Peter Dutton has been awarded $35,000 in a defamation action against refugee advocate Shane Bazzi over a tweet that accused him of being an our apologist. The now deleted tweet was accompanied by a link to a story published in The Guardian in 2019 containing comments Mr. Dutton made about women on Nauru when he was Home Affairs Minister. Mr. Bazzi had denied defaming Mr. Dutton, saying he was only exercising fair comment and honest opinion. But today, the federal court found the tweet did defame Mr. Dutton and awarded damages. The federal court hearing began in October after the parties were unable to agree on a settlement. Mr. Dutton told the court he'd been the subject of many offensive and profane remarks over the years, but Mr. Bazzi's comment was different. This went beyond that. It went against who I am, my beliefs. It went to a different level. It was hurtful, and I was offended by it. I do not believe this is a freedom of speech issue. Mr. Dutton said he found out about the tweet from his staff and formed the view that it was more than someone having a rant about him, particularly because Mr. Bazzi had a blue tick on his account, meaning the account was verified by Twitter. The court heard he had accepted an apology from Senator Larissa Waters, which included the same comment. The case will have to return to court next month for the parties to argue the costs. So here's my question. Why is it Senator Larissa Waters can actually tweet the same thing, not get sued for defamation, but somebody else does it? So here is the judgment. Federal court in front of Justice White. So here's all the legalese, all the legislation, the cases that were cited. Oh, look, Bolt. Hanson Young. Oh, look, hey, hockey. Look at all the politicians that are coming up. All the cases that were cited. So the court orders that the applicant by 4 p.m. on the 29th of November 2021 file and serve any affidavits to be relied upon in relation to the issues of costs and interest, together with an outline of submissions concerning these matters not exceeding 5 pages. The respondent by 4 p.m. on the 3rd of December file and serve any affidavits to be relied upon in relation to issues of costs and interest, together with an outline of submissions concerning these matters not exceeding 5 pages. The court will hear submissions concerning the orders to be made to give effect to the judgment, including the issues of costs and interest at 3 p.m. on the 8th of December 2021. Entry of dealt with. So on the 25th of February 2021 at 11:51 p.m, the respondent, Mr. Bazzi, published on Twitter a tweet containing the words, "Peter Dutton is an R apologist." The tweet contained a link to an article published online in the Guardian newspaper some 20 months previously, on the 20th of June 2019. The link in the form of the tweet, which is the subject of this litigation, comprised of a large photograph of Mr. Dutton, the name, The Guardian, and the following words. Peter Dutton says women are using R and abortion claims as a ploy to Home Minister's Affairs says some people are trying in an attempt to get to Australia from refugee centres on Nauru. The first of these lines, which is in the black font, comprised part of the headline to The Guardian. The remainder, in blue font, constituted the whole of the first sentence of the article. The applicant, Mr. Dutton, was the Home Affairs Minister in the Australian government as at the 25th of February 2021, and is now the Minister for Defence. He sues Mr. Bazzi in defamation in respect of his posting of the tweet. It was common ground that Mr. Bazzi had composed the tweet and had published it of and concerning Mr. Dutton. It was also common ground that Mr. Bazzi had removed the tweet when he received the demand from Dutton's solicitors on or shortly after the 6th of April 2021. Mr. Dutton alleges the tweet conveyed 4 defamatory meanings. The applicant condones R, the applicant excuses R, the applicant condones the R of women, and the applicant excuses the R of women. Mr. Dutton's counsel described the first of these imputations as the most powerfully conveyed. Mr. Dutton seeks by way of relief damages, including aggravated damages and injunctions restraining Mr. Bazzi from publishing further the tweet or imputations it is said to convey. Mr. Bazzi admits he maintained and authorised the content of the Twitter page on which the tweet was published, and admits that if the tweet did convey the imputations alleged by Mr. Dutton, they were defamatory. He denies, however, that the tweet conveyed any of the pleaded imputations. In addition, he raises 2 substantive defences: honest opinion under S31 of the Defamation Act 2005, and its counterparts in the Uniform Defamation Acts of the States and Territories, which I will collectively refer to as the UDA, and the common law defence of fair comment. Counsel for Mr. Bazzi said the common law defence for fair comment was relied upon in the event that the statutory defence of honest opinion did not succeed. Mr. Dutton is the member for the House seat of Dixon in the House of Representatives in the Australian Parliament, having first been elected in 2001. He said that with the exception of a period between 2007 and 2013, when the coalition was in opposition, he'd been a member of the Ministry of the Australian Government since 2004. So he was Workplace Minister, Minister for Health, Minister for Immigration Border Protection, Minister for Home Affairs, and Minister for Defence. Between October 1990 and July 1999, Mr. Dutton served as a police officer in the Queensland Police Force. After about 18 months as a uniformed police officer, he became a plainclothes detective in the State Crime Operations Command. In that capacity, he served for periods in the Sex Offender Squad, the Drug Squad, the NCA, the Corrective Services Investigation Unit. His work in the Sex Offender Squad involved investigation of allegations of SA, and in turn working with victims of SA, including victims of historic SA. He was engaged in the prosecution of alleged SA in the Corrective Services Investigation Unit. He was involved in the investigation of criminal offences and possible criminal offences in the Queensland Corrective Services System. Between leaving the Queensland Police Service in July 1999 and entering Australian Parliament, Mr. Dutton worked in a family business involving the operation of a childcare centre and property development. Mr. Dutton deposed that the AFP, for which he had responsibility as Minister for Home Affairs, had a definite focus on the protection of women and children against SA. And as another indication of the seriousness with which he views SA, he said that he had directed the police with expertise in forensics investigation to go to Nauru to ensure that allegations of SA on those refugee centres were being investigated properly. Mr. Bazzi did not give evidence and there was little evidence of his circumstances. In one document, he is described as an unemployed Centrelink recipient and another as an unemployed refugee activist. The tweet by Mr. Bazzi is set out in full. So this is the offending tweet. So then we get into the defamation. I'm not going to read it all, but we get into the defamation argument. So now he's talking about his consideration. I set out the commencement of these reasons, the imputations alleged by Mr. Dutton. The issue to be addressed is whether the tweet did convey any of those meanings to the ordinary reasonable reader of Twitter. So there was public attention to Miss Higgins. So Miss Higgins gets the evidence. Then we've got here some of the evidence. The evidence also indicated that Senator Waters had issued a media release, published tweets, and had a press conference on the 25th of February 2021, in which she had been critical of Mr. Dutton's statements. These included criticisms of Mr. Dutton's use of the expression that she said, he said details. It is in no part of the judgment to pass comment on whether the criticisms of Mr. Dutton were or were not justified. The relevant matter is early on that day, Mr. Bazzi published the tweet. There had been media coverage, including mainstream media, of statements by Mr. Dutton in relation to the aspects of Ms. Higgins' allegations, and that they had become one of the political issues of the day. I'm willing to accept in a general way that Mr. Dutton's statements and media coverage of them formed part of the context in which Mr. Bazzi published the tweet shortly before midnight on the same day. Amongst other things, these matters help explain why Mr. Bazzi may have been prompted to make the tweet on the day he did. However, Council's submission did not indicate in any specific way how this context had helped inform the tweet readers' understanding of what was meant by the statement, Peter Dutton is an R apologist. In particular, Council did not contend that in the media coverage of the day, the terms R apologist or apologist had been used or understood with some particular meaning or connotation which differed from the meaning originally conveyed by the term apologist. So it goes through again. They talk about that. I'm just scrolling down very slowly. I was going to do this as a recorded, and I just decided that I would jump on live. But anyway, then he's got apologist. So he's looked up the justice has gone apologist, and it's looked up the Oxford English Dictionary, the short Oxford English Dictionary, Macquarie Dictionary 2020, Webster's third new international dictionary, Webster's Comprehensive Dictionary, the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, and to work out what to define apologist. Then we've got more here. The defense of, so now he explores the defense of honest opinion. So then we've got the pleading of the defense. And it's very interesting that the justice actually went through all the meanings of apologist. So we've got more law here. In containing the tweet considered a statement of facts, referred to statement. Yeah, I bet they do. I mean, I'm not a fan of Dutton, and I don't know much about Bazzi. I'm just really annoyed that a politician won. I'm not saying, and so again, he's talking about this statement about Dutton being an R apologist, and then did the opinion relate to a matter of public interest? And again, we've got to look at public interest. Was the opinion based on proper material? How did he get to that point? So again, he's asking the questions, giving legal argument. As I said, there's lots. It's a really long document, and you can hear by my voice. My voice is starting to go again. So, So Mr. Dutton stated publicly that women on refugee centres in Nauru use R and abortion claims as a ploy and are trying to tempt it to get to Australia from those refugee centres in Nauru. And that was a television interview that he had on Sky News. Then facts referred to sufficiently indicated. Again, television interview, a finding, a court finding, some stuff on Brittany Higgins. So this is all the stuff that they've used here in that. In my view, the circumstances, assuming it to be so, that only a small minority of Twitter readers do, as a matter of practice, click on links of the kind provided by Mr. Bazzi is not material. The question is whether the facts have been presented to the minds of the readers so as to enable them to assess for themselves the opinion. The readers may not choose to exercise the opportunity provided to them any more than say readers may not choose to turn the next page in a newspaper article to read for themselves the facts to which the commentator draws attention. In any event, in the present case, Mr. Bazzi relies only on his link to the Guardian article and not on a number of sequential links. The position with respect to his sequential links does not require consideration in this case. It's interesting because you can only post one link on Twitter. I see no reason in principle why the provision of a single link accompanied by some indication of what is said to be found in the link may not constitute sufficient indication of the facts on which opinion is based. By including a portion of the headline to the Guardian article and its first sentence, Mr. Bazzi indicated sufficiently to the readers of the tweet, both to the particular matters on which he was basing, or at least purporting to base, his opinion, and giving them the means of access to that material so that they could, if they wished, access for themselves the merit of his assessment of Mr. Dutton. So, again, we've got this. Evidence concerning the notoriety of Mr. Dutton's statements in the doorstep interview, comprised of transcript of the doorstep interview, broadcast from the ABC, and then, so again, he's looking at was his opinion based on proper material. My concern is that the floodgates are now being opened for politicians. So I think he says, I conclude that Mr. Bazzi has not shown that his imputation was based on a single sentence in the Guardian article, or for that matter, on the finding of the. So he made that statement. Peter Dutton is an R apologist. He linked an article, but his honour, the justice is saying that there's no link in the article to say how that has come about. So now we've got the pleadings of the particulars. She would be here all day if we had to read all of this. At the hearing, counsel referred to material he demonstrated the intention of Mr. Bazzi to specifically wound him. The submission seemed to be directed to the issue of malice, but as I understood it, the implication that this had been Mr. Bazzi's state of mind rather than holding him honest opinion. Counsel referred to the absence of a rational connection between Mr. Bazzi's comments and the material on which it's to be based. So Shane Bazzi Dutton is an R apologist and a fascist who abuses women and children. The C continues to sink to new lows defending Porter, attacking the media, lying about the allegations being unfounded, and Porter cleared by the police using the family's grief, F scumbag. And that was based on a tweet from the SBS. Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton has described Attorney General Christian Porter's denial of a historical R allegation as gutsy. It is sufficient for me to say that I do not regard this piece of foul-mouthed invective as assisting in the determination of whether Mr. Bazzi did hold the opinion in question. As will be seen, it is not necessary to consider it in relation to the issue of malice. In my view, the real question for the determination arises from the foundational proposition in Mr. Dutton's amended reply, expressed as it is in composite form, that Mr. Bazzi did not honestly hold the relevant opinion. That is to say, the question is whether the opinion of Mr. Bazzi, with the meaning found by this court to have been conveyed by the tweet, was honestly held by Mr. Bazzi. Counsel for Mr. Dutton submitted that it should be concluded that Mr. Bazzi had not published an opinion honestly held by him, because a fair-minded person would not have expressed that opinion on the basis of the proper material identified. So here's his consideration. My finding that the tweet conveyed the imputation that Mr. Dutton excuses R may afford some evidence that Mr. Bazzi held that opinion. That is so because, at least generally speaking, there is the inference that persons may mean what they say. Having regard to my impression that Mr. Bazzi may have used the word apologist without an understanding of the meaning he was in fact conveying, this inference is not strong if, as I think likely, Mr. Bazzi did not appreciate the effect of his words. it would follow that he did not hold the opinion actually conveyed by the words, and there is a rhetorical question adapted from the posed by counsel. If Mr. Bazzi had held that opinion that Mr. Dutton excuses are, why did he not say so? The fact that he did not is an indication that he did not hold that opinion. It is also pertinent in these proceedings, Mr. Bazzi has denied his tweet conveyed the meaning that Mr. Dutton excuses are. That denial may not be absolutely inconsistent with Mr. Bazzi having held the contrary opinion on the 25th of February 2021, but that would be unusual. There is also the unexplained absence of Mr. Bazzi from the witness box, which counsel for Mr. Dutton emphasised. Although Mr. Bazzi has no onus, it is pertinent that he did not depose on his oath or affirmation to his own state of mind on the 25th of February 2021, a matter about which he has peculiar knowledge. Mr. Bazzi's absence does not, of course, warrant an inference that any evidence he may have been given on the topic would have been adverse to his case. But in the context that other inferences are open on the evidence, it does permit the inference that his evidence would not have assisted him on the topic. So he didn't appear in the witness box. Doing so, it had been necessary to determine this case on the basis I would have been satisfied that Mr. Dutton had established that Mr. Bazzi did not, on the 25th of February 2021, hold the opinion that he was an R apologist because he excuses R. Mr. Dutton would therefore defeat the defence of honest opinion if it had been otherwise available to Mr. Bazzi. So then he's talking about public interest and damages, how they award damages. The extent of the publication. Apparently, the actual number of individuals who read the tweet is likely to have been a little less, given that the number of the 1,221 must include the applicant himself, the staff, and legal representation who viewed it before sending the concerns letter. There were 155 total engagements with the tweet, so it didn't get much. Viewing. See, this is the thing. They sent a letter of concern. He deleted the tweet, and I don't understand why. Then you would, if it's been removed, then why do you have to sue? It is appropriate to proceed, therefore, on the basis that the tweet was only seen by few readers. Well, guess what? More people know about the tweet now because Mr. Dutton decided to put it in there. He took the guy to court. We've all heard now. We've all seen it. I bet you there's more people that are going to read all about all of this now than what there was on the original tweet. Anyway. Mr. Dutton had said that he'd seen the media release at the time and had... what was this one? So that was a media release from the lawyers for Mr. Bazzi. Oh, really? He doesn't see your tweets? Then he published a screenshot of a media release by his solicitors that said that it was still going. The assessment counsel for Mr. Dutton referred the court to the award of damages in other defamation cases. I do not intend to engage in such analysis. No two cases are the same, and damages are to be awarded for particular defamation of Mr. Dutton and its effects on him. No, so his injunctions. So it's a very long. So let's get to the conclusion. In summary, for the reasons set out above, I have found that the tweet did convey the imputation that Mr. Dutton excuses are, and that it was defamatory of Mr. Dutton, that Mr. Bazzi has not established the statutory defence of honest opinion or the common law defence of fair comment on a matter of public interest, that judgment should be entered for Mr. Dutton in the sum of $35,000, and that Mr. Dutton's claims for injunctions should be refused. Before entering judgment, I will hear from parties in respect to interests and costs. I certify that the preceding 240 numbered paragraphs, are a true copy of the reasons for judgment of the Honourable Justice White. So that has come down this morning. So Here is the thing. Dutton has had a win. Does that now make it give all the other politicians, hope that they'll win? Are we going to see Bruz go all the way with Google? Are we going to see Porter try now to reinstate his claim with the ABC? What's going to happen? Don't forget, Lamin is also suing. There's Lamin suing, and then there's Lamin, Porter, and Van Olsen suing somebody else. Are the floodgates now open for politicians to just continue to sue people now? Tell me what you think. They're a sue happy bunch. Yeah, of course they are. It's unbelievable. And don't forget, Dutton wants to set up a kitty. He wants to set up a kitty of taxpayers' money to help politicians defend themselves. And I don't want my money being used for politicians to sue people. Why should they be allowed to use taxpayers' money if they want to sue people? But anyway, Peter Dutton is going to be $35,000 richer, and apparently it's interesting because what's really interesting is because the guy, apparently the person that he sued, has classed himself as unemployed. So good luck, Mr. Dutton, getting your money. I mean, at the end of the day, is it worth it? Was all of that money that he spent worth it? That's what I want to know. Was it worth it? And think about all the time that he spent talking to lawyers rather than doing the job that he's paid to do. Oh, really? You reckon that they'll do that? The people will fundraise for him. Probably. Okay. Interesting, hey? Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. That's, as I said, that just came through, and I thought, oh, I better do this, and I thought I'd do it as a live stream because I haven't streamed live for a while. People on Twitter already saying, yeah, it's as I said, I'm not happy that the politicians won. Oh, here we go. Shane Bazzi has just tweeted. He's just said, we're disappointed with the outcome. We'll be taking our time to consider our options. Thank you for all of your support and solidarity. I ask that you could please respect my privacy at this time. Sad day, but in the court of public opinion, you won hands down. Let's hope that the public of Dixon ruled Dutton out of order once and for all. The public of Dixon still voted for Dutton, even when he wanted to ditch them for a safe Gold Coast seat. So he's got a lot of Brittany Higgins, completely understandable, sending you strength and solidarity. Please know that you have our support always. It's really interesting that Brittany Higgins, she's is in there and there. Porter's unidentified blind trust donor. Love it. I believe Dutton's response to the Brittany Higgins allegations were he said, she said. If the accused eventually faces court and is found guilty of SA, would that not in some way alter this verdict? So, important caveat. It will be up to Dutton as to whether he goes to the trouble and expense of pursuing payment from an unemployed bloke with no assets. He'll get nothing. Anyone suggesting a crowd fund to pay the damages should stop that right now. It's a monumental, terrible idea. Yeah. So anyway, that is what the Twitter's saying. So anyway, that's what Twitter is saying at the moment about. That's what Shane Bazier has just posted on his Twitter account. So I guess we just have to wait and see now as to what happens, because yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Make sure you hit the like button. But as I said, Peter Dutton, he's won his defamation case. I guess he doesn't mind being called Mr. Potato Head. But anyway, we'll see. And it's only my opinion, Mr. Dutton. So yes, thank you for watching me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you again soon. I'll probably do a couple more recorded videos today, but I'll be live again in my usual time slot next week. But until I see you again, bye for now.